is Valley News Live at 4.
Here's a look at today's top 4 at 4. A big-time opioid dealer will serve 10 years in federal prison for narcotics and firearms charges. Officials say Jorge Pitts of Detroit, Michigan, is sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. He was found guilty of possession with intent to distribute oxycodone and possession of a firearm by a felon. Back in January 2018, Pitts was stopped in Newtown, North Dakota. Police searched his car, finding over 1,600 oxycodone pills and a loaded gun. Pitts admitted to bringing thousands of pills from Michigan to the Fort Berthold Reservation. A man is in jail after running from police in West Fargo. It happened yesterday afternoon around 3:20. West Fargo police officers were investigating a harassment call in the 3400 block of 5th Street West. The victim told officers that their neighbor, 21-year-old Quentin Bates, threw something at their apartment door and threatened them. Officers tried to talk to Bates, but he tried to run away. He was arrested and now faces multiple charges. Police in northwest Minnesota say there's a new scam going around, this one involving a pastor. Residents in Becker and Kitson counties say they've gotten text messages from someone posing as Pastor Galen Norden of the Lancaster Covenant Church. The pastor asks for help buying gift cards for needy people. The real Pastor Norden told the Kitson County Sheriff's Office that he has not sent that kind of message to anyone. Hank Aaron, Baseball Hall of Famer and one-time home run king, has died. According to the MLB Network, Aaron was 86 years old. He spent most of his baseball career playing for the Braves in Milwaukee and Atlanta, finishing his career with 755 home runs. Hammerin' Hank broke Babe Ruth's home run record in 1974. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1982. Aaron was born in Mobile, Alabama, where the former minor league ballpark is named after him. That wraps up today's top 4 at 4. Hard to keep up with the weather lately, but always grateful when we see temperatures that are more up than down. Let's find out how this evening looks. Hey, Nathan.
Hey, Andrea, and today is one of those days with those temperatures that are more up than down. I'll tell you right now, I was expecting 15 degrees in Fargo today, but we hit 20 degrees, so that's a pleasant one, even with the clouds that did limit that sunshine reaching the ground. But notice most of us in the teens and 20s for high temperatures today, but that cool spot today, 13 degrees only was the high temperature there. But for our friends in Jamestown, saw 25 degrees for that high temperature day. There's that radar. You can see those clouds are still with us at this hour, and we still could see some flurries under the radar as well. Although the little blue blips are not being necessarily picked up by our radar, I can look outside and see that there are some flurries falling under some of those clouds on our radar. There's current temperatures. Again, if you still plan on stepping out for your Friday evening, still coldest up toward Badette and Bemidji, Wadena, also at 14 degrees. Still seeing those lower 20s in Grand Forks and Fargo. Jamestown holding on to those middle 20s at this hour. Andrea, I am watching for some more organized snowfall for our Saturday. So, of course, coming up in a couple minutes, we'll talk about who can expect how much, and that's just in a few minutes.
Nathan. Thanks, Nathan. Drug overdoses are on the rise in Fargo, up over 300% compared to this time last year. Fargo police say just within the first few weeks of 2021, the department has responded to 9 overdoses, and 2 of those were fatal.
Our goal and our mission as a narcotics unit is to try to identify the people that are supplying those drugs that lead to overdoses. Basically, taking advantage of people that are suffering from addiction and holding those people accountable.
Christensen says most overdose cases involve mixtures of fentanyl, heroin, and meth, and says some of the cases they're currently investigating have ties to California. He says more often than not, the ones supplying the deadly drugs in the metro are not local. New tonight at 4, it's in the nature of presidential candidates and new presidents to promise big things, including President Joe Biden, who plans on vaccinating 100 million people in 100 days. But are local health departments on track? Valley News Team's Callie Hubbard is live in studio to explain. Callie?
Andrea, there are over 180,000 people to vaccinate in Cass County, 64,000 in Clay County. I reached out to health departments on both sides of the river to ask what their goals are in terms of how many people they can vaccinate in 30 or 100 days. Kathy McKay with Clay County Public Health saying they don't have a clear answer. They vaccinated 1,050 people since January 5th, not including those in long-term care facilities. She says this number would be much bigger if they got more allotments of doses rather than the 100 to sometimes 300 at a time.
In Clay County, we have the capacity to do a lot more vaccine than what we're receiving. We're receiving just small amounts each week, and so we don't have the vaccine to distribute as widely as we'd like.
And coming up on Valley News Live at 5, hear more about Cass County and if they're on track to administering the vaccine. Andrea?
All right, thanks, Callie. The CDC has updated its coronavirus vaccine guidance. Valley News Live's Brian Sherrod has the details.
The recommended time between doses is 21 days for Pfizer and 28 days for Moderna's vaccine. Now the timetables have changed for this dosage recommendation. Now the CDC says while the second dose should be administered as close to the recommended time as possible, it can now be scheduled up to 6 weeks later if necessary. The CDC also saying that only under exceptional situations, a person can get a second dose that comes different from a different vaccine. Now, in a normal scenario, the first dose you received will be the second one you will receive weeks later as well. The Pfizer vaccine is still approved for anyone over the age of 16, while the Moderna vaccine is for anyone 18 years and older. Now, children and adolescents outside of these required age groups should not receive the COVID-19 vaccine at this time.
All right, thanks, Brian. You can find more details on your VNL News app. Just click on this story. A new CDC report tells how several allergic reactions to Moderna's coronavirus vaccine appear to be rare. The agency says as of January 10th, over 4 million first doses of Moderna's vaccine have been administered in the U.S. There were over 1,200 reports of adverse events, and among those, 108 were identified as possible cases of severe allergic reaction, including anaphylaxis. However, the CDC says only 10 were determined to be anaphylaxis, which is an estimated rate of 2.5 cases per million. All but one of the reactions occurred within 15 minutes of vaccination. A Minnesota judge says he will not reconsider his decision to hold a March trial for the former Minneapolis police officer who held his knee to George Floyd's neck as the black man said he could not breathe. Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill says Derek Chauvin will stand trial March 8th as scheduled and will be tried separately from the other 3 former officers who are charged in Floyd's death. Earlier this week, prosecutors asked the judge to reconsider, citing COVID-19 concerns as a primary factor. Chauvin is charged with murder and manslaughter, and the other 3 officers are charged with aiding and abetting. Talk about lotto fever as the Mega Millions jackpot closes in on $1 billion. The jackpot for tonight's Mega Millions drawing is $970 million. That's the 3rd largest jackpot in U.S. history. Now, if there's a winner, the lump sum cash option is $716.3 million before taxes. The Mega Millions jackpot has been climbing since mid-September. That's 37 weeks of no one matching all 6 numbers in the twice-weekly drawings, marking the longest stretch ever with no winner, according to lottery officials. The largest jackpot in history was a $1.59 billion Powerball prize in 2016, which was split 3 ways. On President Biden's second full day in office, things are moving fast. The president kept the focus on the pandemic, taking more steps to relieve financial hardship. Skylar Henry has the latest from the new administration.
President Biden took action to bring economic relief to millions of Americans, signing 2 executive orders, one to support workers and lay the groundwork for a higher minimum wage for federal workers, the other increasing benefits for those with food insecurity.
We remain in a once-in-a-century public health crisis that's led to the most unequal job and economic crisis in modern history. And the crisis is only deepening.
The president's inner circle is taking shape. Lloyd Austin was confirmed as the nation's first black Secretary of Defense.
Thanks for being here. look forward to working with you.
And Janet Yellen received unanimous support from the Senate Finance Committee to become the first woman to head the Treasury Department.
It will be important for her to keep in mind, though, that as Treasury Secretary, she will be serving the interest of all Americans and not simply those of a liberal agenda.
The White House is working to build support for its COVID relief package. The administration will meet with a group of senators this weekend, hoping to hammer out a bipartisan agreement. Republicans are already showing resistance to the $1.9 trillion price tag.
We're not going to get Republican votes for something in that price range. There are some things in there I think we have some folks who'd be willing to support, but a lot of what's in there are things that we've done in our bill that we've already passed.
And First Lady Jill Biden held her first solo event outside of the White House, visiting a Washington health clinic with a surprise stop at Capitol Hill to deliver cookies to National Guard troops. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
They have been putting in countless hours for you and me, and now the NFL is telling thousands of healthcare workers you're about to be rewarded. That's next.
And here's how things look hourly for the rest of the evening in Fargo. Cooling into those lower teens with those clouds hanging around. Still could see a few flurries here or there through this evening as well. Men in Grand Forks, a little bit colder up there, falling into those single digits by midnight. But of course, we'll talk about that chance of some Saturday snowfall after the break.